Rather than watch some fun little sketch with the super friends and the kids, we're starting right in with the villains today.
Hank, we're almost there. I figure it's about a mile to the gold fields, Ben.
The Blue Jet flies over the richest gold mining country in the world.
People may not realize it, but we're doing them a favor, destroying all the gold in the world.
They're going around in that jet using a beam they invented to change the atomic structure of gold into basic rock. How does it work? The gag about one guy being really tall and another being really short has been around for as long as humans have been coming in different sizes. In the 20th century, the comic strip Mutt and Jeff really popularized the idea and turned it into a trope. Today we have Hank and Ben. The bouncy shoes Ben uses will be explained later, sort of. Their blue beam penetrates deep into the earth where the gold is.
Tiny electrical particles called quarks flow out of the gold and stream upward through the blue beam. The gold remaining in the earth is turned into a worthless residual metal, while the quarks fill the empty cylinders in the aircraft as Hank and Ben watch.
For starters, I'm not sure that can be done. Protons are made of different types of quarks, so if you remove the quarks, you remove the protons, and you don't have atoms anymore. You have, I don't know what you have, but it's not what our narrator said. Scientists had been playing with the idea of quarks since the 1940s, but we didn't have the technology to detect them until the late 60s, just a few years before this was made. At the time, it was kind of like looking them up in the phone book. We knew they existed, but otherwise we knew squat about them. Figuring that part out was still ongoing, so a show like this could suggest an idea like this and get away with it. Among other reasons, their target audience had most likely never heard of quarks and assumed it was a word the writer made up. And on Saturday morning, when the kids are watching cartoons and the parents are sleeping in, who's going to tell them?
I must not talk out of turn in class. I must not talk. How can I write the sentence 100 times if the chalk won't write?
You've heard of the blackboard jungle? Welcome to the blackboard crumble. That's not all.
Skyscraper in danger of collapse.
The tower of a skyscraper under construction is in danger of collapse.
Wendy just said that, Ted. That girder has broken loose. It's threatening to fall on a crowd below. Elsewhere, a major dam is showing signs of cracking. Superman will deal with the girder while Aquaman speeds off to the dam.
Aquaman dives downward through the murky water in search of the damage. He discovers that the cement along the top side of one of the stone blocks has crumbled and is being washed out.
It's eroding the mortar around that block, so if the block goes, the whole dam goes. Aquaman will have to fix it quick.
With no time to lose, he spots a pile of blocks left over from the dam's construction. With precise memory of the defective block's size, he chooses a replacement.
A lot of interesting conveniences there, no?
This time, it's into the upstream side of the dam. Quickly, he again locates the problem area. The loosened block is about to give way. Aquaman jockeys his burden against the loosened block. And, like a giant tapered cork, the new piece slides into place.
Next, he needs to find a way to open the spillway and relieve some of the pressure on the dam.
Carrying the boulder in front of him like a battering ram, Aquaman swims against the gates. With the spillway tunnel open, the water pressure against the dam is relieved.
Sadly, Aquaman was swept away in the maelstrom and disappeared forever. And now for a spoiler, that's the last interesting thing he'll get to do this episode. Batman, Robin, and the kids are trying to figure out what could shatter a blackboard. Robin has an idea.
A sharp sound.
A sonic boom?
No.
It's possible, Marvin. Haven't you heard that a certain frequency can shatter a glass?
Like with your voice, you mean?
Yes, let's try it. Robin? Do!
Robin, you mispronounced duh.
Me.
Nothing.
Okay then. They surmised that the only vibrations that might have done all the damage they're seeing would be Earth vibrations, i.e. earthquakes. They head to the Seismological Institute to see if that's the case.
Meanwhile, in the air, Wonder Woman checks out another strange occurrence. A huge transmission cable carrying telephone messages from one part of the country to another has broken. Communications have been interrupted.
We won't mention the fact that those are high voltage electric lines that have nothing to do with telephones. We'll just go with it. She has a replacement cable in her plane. With a lineman at each end of the damaged part, she helps them get the new one in place and restore the connection.
This is the Getty graph. Getty stands for Ground Electronic Tremor Indicator.
This has to be a government operation because they give it a weird acronym instead of just saying seismograph.
Hey, there's a vibration line.
It's called a tremor line. There are more than 50,000 tremors a year throughout the world.
Seismographs have been around in something similar to their present state since 1880. By 1977, they could do what this thing does, detect the tremors and tell you how far away they were and in what direction. Anybody with a little cash could buy one, but this one is special because it has a government acronym and costs 112 times what you or I would pay for the same thing. The kids will stay here and go through the Institute's records to see if there were any tremors in the vicinities of the damage. The other Super Friends have all brought samples of the things that were damaged. While they're examining the items, the kids report no tremors anywhere near any of them.
Simple inspection of this piece of this blackboard fragment shows it to be filled with minute cracks.
The broken end of this girder has thousands of little fissures in it. If the steel in the rest of the skyscrapers is like this, the whole downtown area will have to be rebuilt.
The cement that held this block, it's pulverized.
Well, look at this cable. The metal is strangely decomposed.
The materials are basically disintegrating. The Super Friends decide they should check out the mines all these materials come from to see if they can find some answers. Meanwhile, the Blue Jet has found another gold deposit.
Mr. Wimple, look at this line. It's wavy. It's not like the others.
Strange. Very strange. Very unusual.
Strange enough to put in a call to Batman?
Might be worth looking into. Maybe another dam or skyscraper is in danger.
Where does the tremor originate?
Why, due north of here, 50 miles away.
Wait, his machine can detect the vibrations the blue beam is causing, but it didn't record them so Marvin and Wendy could find them in their records? Sir, next time don't let it run out of paper, okay?
Batman, look! A blue beam coming down from the sky. It's coming from the plane. Do you think that's what's causing the earth tremor Wendy reported? We'll find out. Batman calling Wendy.
Go ahead, Batman.
We are at the scene. Are you still receiving tremors?
Yes, Batman. The pattern's continuing.
Stand by.
Hello, Blue Jet. Hello, Blue Jet. This is Batman. Hello, Blue Jet, projecting blue beam. Come in, please.
This is Batman.
Don't answer.
Instead, they shut down the beam and zip away to their headquarters at a place called Ultratech. That's where they store the quarks they collect.
On a fantastic machine called a quark rectifier, the blue particles will be transformed into any metal: iron, chromium, tin, copper, aluminum, whatever is wanted or needed.
And if gold is what's needed, it's not just used as a medium of exchange or to make pretty baubles out of. This is coated in gold because the conductive properties of gold are far superior to most other metals. It's an essential part of most electronic circuit boards, again, because it's a unique conductor and no other element can do what it does. If they destroy all the gold in the world, they'll especially set computer research back to the 19th century.
Well, a few more trips and we'll have wiped out most of the gold in the country. And everybody will be better for it. Sure. Instead of people wasting all their time and energy acquiring gold, maybe they'll concern themselves with more important things, like improving the quality of life.
Don't be ridiculous. They'll find other materials to make their knickknacks out of, silver or platinum or whatever. You can't force massive outward change like this onto the populace and expect them just to fall in line. You don't change people by altering outside influences. That's where education comes in. People change by learning more than they knew before and applying it to their lives. Teach people what's important. And in the case of these two, teach them how essential gold is to modern life, so maybe they'll stop this nonsense.
Meanwhile, the Super Friends have brought specimens of metal ore from the various mines to the Earth Resources Chemical Laboratory to find out whether the ore itself is defective.
Someone in the comments asked why they don't take all this stuff to Star Labs. Star Labs had been around since 1971, so it makes sense, but to my knowledge, Star Labs doesn't appear in this series. It's a good question. Why?
I'll tell you. I don't know.
Remember, I didn't follow DC. I only picked one up sporadically here and there. The first time I heard about Star Labs was when Amanda Pays was working there, and then later in Lois and Clark. But the point is a good one. By this time, they were well established as the superheroes' go-to place for answers. In fact, considering all the other places the Super Friends have already gone, they're probably feeling neglected, not to say jealous.
The spectroscope can identify a metal because each metal produces colors of its own when placed in the chamber.
I got to play with a spectroscope in college in 1981. My lab partner and I pointed it at a Bunsen burner and then took pieces of various elements and ignited them in the flame. One would do that, the other would watch the scope and record the spectrum range that the element emitted. It was really cool, but we both realized it would take years to really get proficient with this thing. Fortunately, this place has it all automated.
The steel in the skyscraper came from the mine where I got this ore sample. Why, it hardly contains any iron at all.
No wonder that skyscraper almost collapsed. Let's try the copper ore.
Same deal, there's no copper at all in it, likewise for the copper wire Wonder Woman brought back. None of the elements are present, and there's no explanation for it. Ben has surmised that Batman found them by way of the Seismic Institute. He and Hank will pay them a visit.
Well, you divert them while I sabotage the seismograph. Hello there, friends.
Gee,
What's the matter?
I never saw a pair of shoes like that before.
I don't know why people are always so surprised. When you're as short as I am, you've just got to do something logical about it.
Yeah, so why did you do this instead? More important, why does your voice sound exactly like Robin? Don't bother answering that in the comments. It's a purely rhetorical question. Right now, it's time for Shenanigans.
Of course, most of these tremors are too slight even to be felt by people.
Hey, the director said we mustn't touch anything.
Oh, it's just a little old souvenir. He's kind of playful. If you're in charge, maybe you better follow him.
Hey, you better come back with that.
The diversion isn't working, though, because Wendy stays with the seismograph instead of going off with Marvin and Wonder Dog.
Did you get to the machine? No, she was watching me. You try. I'll divert them. Here, take the magnet.
All magnets of all sizes look like that. That magnet on the back of the souvenir on your refrigerator, if you looked at it under a microscope, you'd see that it's made up of millions of tiny horseshoe magnets all crammed together so they look like a plain strip of material. The technique was discovered by accident. They were actually trying to figure out how cartoon characters fit one that size into their tiny pockets. The director, Mr. Wimple, comes in and Hank asks him to explain the machine.
Electromagnetic type seismograph using a balanced
Nice dog, nice dog. Do you know how to fetch and carry? Fetch it, doggy. Doesn't even know enough to fetch. Oh,
How do
boy.
you estimate distance?
Well, the way to tell...
Suddenly, the Getty machine is sending everybody to wrong places. The Super Friends are getting frustrated.
It's sending us on wild goose chases, Wendy. Please have Mr. Whipple find out what's wrong with it.
Roger, Batman. There must be something wrong, Mr. Wimple.
If there is, I'll find it.
Or not. He tears into the machine to check every wire and component, with the answer right there in front of his face where he'll never find it. Nobody is thinking to look under the machine.
Very odd. Very odd. Everything seems to be in order. Let's try it again.
It's giving a reading, but they don't trust it. Still, the first time it did this, Batman and Robin did find the blue jet. What happened between then and now?
I don't know of anything.
Neither do I.
What, Wonder Dog? Tall and short? The tourist.
The guy who took the desk flag.
What about them?
Could they have done anything to the Getty graph?
How could they? They didn't even touch it.
How do you know? You weren't here. You were off trying to find your lunch. They know the short one was up to something. He did that bit with the flag. Wonder Dog will track him from the time he came back into the room.
My lunch.
Not for long.
Wonder Dog, don't you dare!
Spoil sport. I guess nobody gets the sandwich. The seismograph is keeping it for himself.
Whatever you're having for lunch, Mr. Wimple, sure doesn't want to be eaten.
A magnet!
Of course, a magnet. It's interfering with the magnetic field of the apparatus. Get rid of it.
Okay, but the sandwich is going to be his fee for doing so. Now the seismograph should be giving the correct readings.
5 miles east on 2nd Avenue. That's just outside of town.
Should we alert the Super Friends?
But suppose it's another false alarm.
Wendy, why don't we check it out ourselves? It's not far.
All right, Marvin.
Mr. Wimple, if we're not back in 20 minutes, please call Batman.
I'll do that. But you take this indicator with you. It'll direct you right to the source of the tremor.
The indicator takes them straight to Ultratech.
Marvin, look!
The blue jet. The indicator points through that doorway. Let's go. Look, it's the blue beam.
I wonder who could be behind all this.
Hello there.
Why, you were the ones who came to the Seismological Bureau.
At the moment, the beam is changing some of those quarks into a lump of iron. They say iron is useful.
There it is. Pure iron.
Do you use the blue jet to gather the quarks?
We better stop talking, Ben. Those kids are getting too nosy.
Why don't we entertain them while we have the whole operation moved to some other place?
Good. Invite them to come along for a flight on the blue jet.
They're gonna pull a fast one on these kids.
Say, how would you kids like to see us extract quarks? We're going to get them at a very special place today, a fine supply.
If we go, maybe we can find a way to let the Super Friends catch the blue jet.
It's chancy, but okay, let's try it.
They're gonna pull a fast one on these two.
But do you know that when you extract the quarks from the Earth, the minerals in nearby mines are ruined?
We've seen the evidence. Weak steel, lousy copper cable, and even crummy blackboard slate.
Oh, yeah, we know that. You see, when we extract the quarks from gold, the blue beam's power radiates in all directions for miles.
It's just mighty unfortunate for those mine owners.
It's more than that if high-rise buildings collapse and dams burst, but these two are pretty far up themselves.
Besides, there's really no loss of natural resources. By rearranging the gold quarks in our quark rectifier, we can make other more useful metals than gold.
But it's not your gold.
What difference does that make?
It makes a lot of difference.
You just don't understand.
He's right about that, at least.
Hello, Batman. This is Mr. Whipple at the Seismological Bureau. Go ahead, Mr. Whipple.
I'm worried about Wendy and Marvin. They left to investigate a tremor and...
What was the location of the tremor?
Exactly 5 miles from my building at 135 degrees. It's just outside of town.
How long ago?
About an hour ago. On bicycles.
Wait, what did Marvin tell him?
If we're not back in 20 minutes, please call Batman.
Mr. Wimple may know all about seismology, but I'm not sure he can tell time. See, when the big hand is on...
What I don't understand is why ruin the iron ore in the mines?
Oh, our way is more efficient and cheaper. Quicker, too. It meets the needs of industry better.
Not to mention, you guys corner the market on all metals and get as rich as Midas. Batman and Robin have arrived at the coordinates Mr. Wimple gave them.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, but we're closed. The plant is being moved today.
Sorry, the door was open.
Who are the owners?
That's top secret.
Where are the owners?
That's top secret.
We're looking for 2 young people. Were they here today?
That's top secret. I'm sorry, but you can't look in there.
Why?
It's top secret.
Is the blue jet top secret too? Even though it's gone?
Yes, sir.
Robin, the kids' bikes are in the hangar.
Then they're in the blue jet.
Let's get back to the Seismological Bureau. Thanks for everything, miss.
I'm sorry everything was top secret.
World's greatest detective strikes again. Now they know the Getty graph is working properly, so Mr. Wimple will monitor it and let them know when the blue jet is active again. That should be along about now.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And the blue beam ruins the gold?
Well, yeah, beautiful, isn't it?
It's not beautiful. It's wrong.
Wrong, Wendy, it's right.
You know the old proverb, money is the root of all evil?
I get so tired of that. That's not what it says. It says love of money, which is to say greed. It means all the moral evil in the world, from petty theft to slavery to murder, can be traced to selfishness. I want, you have, I take. See, the thing is, if you only apply that to money as we have it today, you've done it wrong. When that was written, there were countless mediums of exchange, including barter. You might pay for firewood with a couple of baskets of barley, or you might send your ship to somewhere with a load of grain and exchange it for a load of fabric that it brings back. Anything could serve as money, and anything can be an object of greed and selfishness, even quarks. And attention. Tell me these guys aren't going to want worldwide acclaim for saving us from ourselves. They'll probably demand that we rename the planet after them. Future history books will proudly proclaim that we live on the planet Hankenben. Mr. Wimple has located them again, not far from Wonder Woman.
The warning alarm.
Aircraft approaching from the south, coming this way.
The blue jet zooms off to avoid being seen.
It's probably one of the Super Friends coming after us.
You can't get away from them.
Well, just you watch, young man.
Hello, Blue Jet. This is Wonder Woman. Come in, please.
Gentlemen, I'm pretty sure that thing can fly faster than you can. She orders them to land and they refuse. They're going to destroy the last big hoard of gold on the planet. And it's not Fort Knox.
They've moved that gold to the underwater caverns off the coast.
Heading 222 degrees.
To all Super Friends, the Blue Jet is on a heading of 222 degrees. I am following them.
She's found it, Batman.
Advise the Super Friends, Robin.
Isn't that what Wonder Woman just did?
But tell them to proceed with caution. Wendy and Marvin are aboard that blue jet.
Speaking of whom, they're still trying to talk some sense into these guys.
And you're going to destroy all the gold?
You're very quick, son.
But Wonder Woman is following you. You'll be caught.
I suppose so, but not until after we've done our work.
It's a great responsibility knowing what's best for everyone.
Yes, it is, and it's my job, not yours, thank you. Hey, if you guys can appoint yourselves to know what's best, I can appoint myself to know what's bester.
We're at the gold caverns. I'll start the blue beam.
Aquaman sends out telepathic instructions. His friends in the deep are to stand by, should their assistance be needed.
Spoiler, they won't. The idea is that if the beam starts, each fish will take a bar of gold and move it to a new location they've set up. But remember what I said about Aquaman? Yeah, he and the fish will sit there and watch from this moment on.
Blue Jet, I am about to block your beam with a heat barrier.
Wonder Woman's transparent plane emits a shield of superheat.
Wonder Woman's interfering with the beam.
Shine it on her.
What will it do to her?
It destroys only gold. It'll merely make her a little dizzy.
You guys are sure asking for trouble.
As the beam is turned upon her, she loses control of her plane and is unable to block the blue beam.
Superman zooms in to block the beam and it knocks him out of the sky. He recovers, but now he knows how to defeat it.
Superman borrows the huge 200-inch reflecting mirror from the Mount Palomar Astronomical Observatory.
The story of the Hale Observatory on Mount Palomar and what it took to make that mirror could hold your interest for hours. Among other things, it's a story about the triumph of trial and error. I encourage you to look it up at your library and read the in-depth story, not just the summaries that you'll find online. It's worth the effort. And right now, it's saving the world.
Using the curved surface of the huge mirror to reflect the blue beam away from himself, Superman is able to approach the plane and shut off the powerful ray. The gold in the undersea caverns is saved.
As I said, through that whole thing, he got to sit there and watch. And then he gets to dispatch his fish to their various lives. While Superman returns the mirror, Wonder Woman tows the Blue Jet back to Ultratech.
Batman!
Robin, are we glad to see you?
Are you kids all right?
Of course they are. Anything else you want to interfere in?
As a matter of fact, yes.
For a brilliant inventor, he asks some dumb questions.
You gentlemen are going to have to stop ruining all the useful minerals in the earth.
They just wanted to destroy all the gold.
That's because gold is the root of all evil.
How people use gold is what makes it good or bad.
But people don't know how to use it.
Then maybe instead of destroying all of it, you explain to people how you think it should be used. But fair warning, people are free to accept or reject your ideas, and you don't have the authority to force your ideas onto them.
An idealist is a wonderful human being.
As long as he doesn't let his idealism cloud his judgment.
See, fellas, that's what you did. You were so anxious to do what you thought was right, you couldn't see that what you were doing was wrong.
And incidentally, your iron seems to be undergoing a change.
It's turning back to gold.
Quarks are unstable by nature. They want to join together and form protons. They will join together and form protons, and they'll do it their way, not yours, so there.
It's all turned back to gold.
How fortunate for Hank and Ben. Now they can return the gold to the rightful owners.
Going by how much is there and knowing they have even more somewhere, factoring in how many different places they pulled it from, figuring out how much they extracted from which location, that should keep them busy for about 37 years. Really them up at the phone book in the phone. God, it's made of slow down. Seismograph is keeping Superman boot Mount Palomar.